In the depths of the Andromeda Research Facility, Dr. Aria Novak stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that flickered with impossible data. The genetic sequencing before her defied everything she had ever known about biological adaptation. For years, humanity had been considered a marginal species in the galactic community, a young civilization barely worthy of notice. The Collective, a vast interstellar alliance of advanced civilizations, had long viewed humans as primitive, technologically stunted, and fundamentally unremarkable. But the data told a different story. Aria's fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling apart genetic strands that revealed something extraordinary. Human DNA possessed a unique characteristic never before documented in any known species, an unprecedented ability to rapidly adapt and mutate in response to environmental challenges. "Commander Rivera," she called into the communication system, her voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "You need to see this." Commander Dante Rivera arrived moments later, his military-issue uniform crisp and his posture suggesting years of disciplined training. He was a man who had seen humanity's struggles against technological superiority, who understood the delicate balance between hope and desperation. "What have you found?" he asked, studying the complex genetic models spinning in the holographic space. Aria pointed to a specific sequence. "Look here. Most species have static genetic structures. When exposed to extreme conditions, they either survive or perish. But humans? Our genetic code doesn't just adapt, it transforms." The implications were staggering. In laboratory simulations, human cells demonstrated an ability to restructure themselves at a molecular level when confronted with environmental stress. Radiation, extreme temperatures, atmospheric variations, conditions that would obliterate other species became mere challenges for human biology. Rivera's eyes narrowed. "How does this translate to actual survival potential?" "It means," Aria explained, her excitement growing, "that humans aren't just survivors. We're living, breathing evolutionary machines. Where other species would require generations of slow genetic drift, we can potentially modify ourselves within a single generation." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent transmission. The holographic display shifted, revealing a star map with rapidly moving markers. Something was happening in the outer colonial regions, a potential conflict brewing between human settlements and an unknown alien reconnaissance force. "The Collective is probing our outer colonies again," Rivera muttered, his hand unconsciously moving to the communication controls. "They still think we're vulnerable." Aria watched the strategic display, her scientific mind connecting dots that most would miss. The genetic adaptability she had discovered wasn't just a biological curiosity. It was a weapon, a living, breathing defense mechanism that made humanity far more dangerous than anyone realized. "They're making a mistake," she said quietly, "a fundamental error in how they perceive us." The research facility hummed with potential energy. Outside the reinforced windows, Earth continued its routine. Billions of people unaware that their very genetic structure represented something revolutionary in the cosmic landscape. Commander Rivera turned to Aria, a spark of something between hope and determination in his eyes. "We need to prepare. If what you're showing me is true, humanity isn't just another species waiting to be conquered. We're something else entirely." The genetic data continued to spin, a silent testament to a potential that no galactic civilization had yet comprehended. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology, its weapons, or its numbers. It was in the fundamental, miraculous ability to change, to adapt, to survive. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, that potential was about to be tested. As the first reports of alien reconnaissance began streaming in, Dr. Aria Novak knew one thing with absolute certainty. The universe was about to learn what humanity was truly capable of. The underground research complex beneath the Pacific Rim Technological Institute hummed with an electric intensity. Kai Nakamura stood before a massive quantum interface, his hands moving with practiced precision across holographic controls that seemed to dance at his fingertips. Dr. Liam O'Connor watched from across the laboratory, a steaming cup of coffee balanced precariously on a stack of quantum computation journals. The two scientists represented humanity's most cutting-edge research team, a partnership born of necessity and shared vision. "The quantum resonance is unstable," Kai muttered, adjusting microscopic quantum processors that seemed to defy the laws of traditional physics. "We're trying to create something that shouldn't exist." Liam chuckled, a deep Irish accent coloring his words. "Isn't that what humans do best? Create the impossible." Their project was unlike anything in human or alien technological history. Drawing from Dr. Area Novak's genetic research, they were attempting to develop a quantum adaptive interface, a technology that could literally evolve in real time, responding to threats with unprecedented speed and complexity. Transmission alerts suddenly flooded the laboratory's communication systems. Holographic displays showed increasing alien reconnaissance activity along human colonial borders. The collective was becoming more aggressive, probing human defenses with increasing frequency. "They're testing our limits," Kai observed, his fingers never stopping their intricate work, "trying to understand our technological capabilities." Liam moved closer, examining the quantum matrix. "What they don't understand is that our technology isn't static. It's alive." The quantum processor before them was unlike any computational system ever created. Traditional computing relied on fixed algorithms and predetermined responses. This system was different. It could learn, adapt, and transform itself instantaneously. Kai had incorporated biological principles discovered by Dr. Novak into pure technological design. The quantum processor wasn't just a machine. It was a living technological organism that could restructure its own core programming in milliseconds. A warning signal flashed. An alien probe had just entered the solar system's outer detection grid. "Time to test the prototype," Liam said, his voice a mixture of excitement and tension. The quantum interface began to pulse, not with electricity, but with something more fundamental. It was responding to the incoming alien signal, analyzing, adapting, preparing a response that no traditional defense system could anticipate. Kai watched in awe as the processor's core began to shift, its molecular structure rearranging itself like a living organism preparing for battle. "It's not just defending," he whispered. "It's learning." The alien probe's signal attempted to penetrate human communication networks, a standard reconnaissance technique used by the collective for millennia. But this time, something different happened. Instead of being blocked or repelled, the quantum interface absorbed the signal. It didn't just stop the invasion. It began to decode, understand, and ultimately transform the incoming technological threat. "Extraordinary," Liam breathed. "We're not just defending. We're evolving our entire technological paradigm in real time." Within moments, the alien probe's systems began to destabilize, not through conventional warfare, but through a complete technological reimagining of defense mechanisms. The human quantum interface was literally rewriting the probe's fundamental operational code. Commander Rivera's communication channel opened. "Report," he demanded. Kai looked at Liam, a triumphant smile spreading across his face. "We just turned an alien reconnaissance probe into our own intelligence-gathering tool, and they won't even know how we did it." The laboratory fell silent, save for the subtle hum of the quantum processor, a sound that seemed to whisper a promise of something unprecedented. Humanity wasn't just preparing for conflict. It was redefining the very nature of technological engagement. Outside, the first hints of a new era were beginning to dawn. The universe was about to learn that human innovation knew no boundaries. The United Global Defense Command Center sprawled beneath the Andes Mountains, a testament to humanity's ability to unite when faced with an existential threat. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display of Earth and its colonial territories, her dark eyes scanning every minute detail. Captain Finn Westbrook approached, a digital tablet displaying complex strategic overlays. "The collective doesn't realize how much we've changed," he said, his voice a low, calculated whisper. Elena nodded, her fingers tracing potential conflict zones. The world had transformed in ways no external civilization could comprehend. Where once nations had been divided, now they stood as a single, unified front. The research from Dr. Novak's genetic discoveries and Nakamura's quantum technologies had fundamentally altered humanity's approach to potential conflict. Our strength isn't in individual military might, Elena explained, but in our collective adaptability. Global communication networks hummed with carefully coded messages. Every major research facility, every technological center, every military installation was now part of an interconnected system that could respond to threats with unprecedented speed and coordination. The quantum adaptive interfaces developed by Kai Nakamura and Liam O'Connor had revolutionized global defense. Traditional military strategies became obsolete. Now, humanity could respond to technological threats by literally reshaping its defensive capabilities in real time. A communication alert flashed. Detailed scans showed increasing collective reconnaissance activities near Jupiter's colonial research stations. Most civilizations would have seen this as a prelude to conflict. Humanity saw it as an opportunity. They're gathering intelligence, Finn observed, but they have no idea what they're really looking at. Elena pulled up detailed genetic and technological readouts. Humanity had transformed itself into something entirely unexpected. The genetic adaptability discovered by Dr. Novak meant that human colonists could potentially survive in environments that would destroy other species. The quantum adaptive technologies meant their defense systems could evolve faster than any potential threat could analyze them. "We're not preparing for war," Elena said quietly. "We're preparing to demonstrate our potential." Global resources had been redirected. Space stations became living laboratories. Colonial outposts transformed into adaptive research centers. Every human settlement now carried the potential to become an unpredictable, evolving defensive node. Finn studied the strategic maps. The collective believes they understand us. They see a young species. What they don't realize is that we're writing an entirely new rulebook of galactic interaction. Emergency protocols were no longer about traditional military responses. They were about rapid adaptation, technological transformation, and a collective consciousness that could respond to threats in ways no external civilization could predict. Deep in the command center, quantum communication networks pulsed with potential. Each signal carried more than information. It carried the potential for instantaneous global mobilization. If the collective attacked one human settlement, they would face a response that could simultaneously defend, counterattack, and fundamentally reshape the technological landscape. "We're not just defending," Elena said, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective determination. "We're demonstrating that survival isn't about strength, it's about adaptability." The holographic display continued to pulse, a living, breathing representation of humanity's newfound potential. Colonies on Mars, research stations around Jupiter, mining operations in the asteroid belt. Each was now a potential adaptive node in a global defensive network. As solar system detection grids tracked increasing collective movement, humanity waited, not with fear, but with a quiet, confident anticipation. They were no longer the species anyone remembered. They were something entirely new. The universe was about to receive a message, and that message was simple. Humanity had arrived. The diplomatic shuttle approached the neutral zone between human and collective territories, its hull designed with the latest adaptive camouflage technology. Major Zara Patil adjusted her communication interface, her fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted communication panels. Dr. Nikolay Volkov sat beside her, his xenolinguistic algorithms humming with anticipation. "They don't understand our language," he muttered, "but they'll understand our message." The collective's massive communication vessel loomed before them, a structure that typically would have inspired fear. But Zara felt something different. Determination, curiosity, a quiet confidence that humanity had never possessed before. "We're not here to negotiate," Zara said, her voice calm and measured. "We're here to establish a new understanding." Quantum communication arrays began to pulse. Unlike traditional diplomatic protocols, this interaction would be fundamentally different. The adaptive communication systems developed by human researchers could translate, interpret, and respond in ways no previous diplomatic mission had ever achieved. Dr. Volkov activated the primary communication interface. Their linguistic patterns are complex, he observed, but our adaptive systems are breaking them down in real time. The collected's communication vessel seemed to hesitate. Traditional reconnaissance suggested humans would approach with fear, with aggression, or with submission. This approach was something entirely unexpected. Zora's quantum-enhanced communication system began to transmit. It wasn't just a message. It was a comprehensive data package that simultaneously communicated humanity's capabilities, intentions, and potential. Images of human adaptation flashed through the communication stream. Genetic restructuring discovered by Dr. Novak. Quantum adaptive technologies developed by Nakamura and O'Connor. Strategic preparations mapped by Admiral Rodriguez. Each transmission carried more than information. It carried a fundamental challenge to the collective's understanding of humanity. "We are not seeking conflict," the transmission read. "We are offering a new paradigm of galactic interaction." The collective's communication arrays began to fluctuate. Their systems were attempting to process information that defied their existing computational models. Humans were not just responding. They were fundamentally reshaping the rules of engagement. Dr. Volkov watched in fascination. "They're trying to understand our communication method, but our adaptive systems are learning and transforming faster than they can analyze." Zara remained calm. This was more than a diplomatic mission. It was a demonstration of humanity's fundamental potential. Each moment of communication was a challenge to the collective's existing understanding of technological and biological limitations. Suddenly, the collective's communication vessel began to retreat, not in fear, but in a complex response that suggested profound recalculation. "They're analyzing," Nikolay said, "but they can't comprehend what they're seeing." The transmission continued. Images of human colonies adapting to harsh environments. Quantum systems that could reshape themselves instantaneously. A global human network that could respond to threats with unprecedented unity and speed. "We are not asking for permission," the final transmission read. "We are declaring our existence." As the diplomatic shuttle returned to human space, Zara understood they had just changed everything. This was not a traditional first contact scenario. This was a fundamental reimagining of humanity's place in the galactic ecosystem. The universe was about to learn that humanity was not just another species to be categorized or controlled. They were a force of adaptive, transformative potential. And they had only just begun. The massive quantum defensive grid surrounding Earth's solar system pulsed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Commander Marcus Wong watched from the central command station, his eyes reflecting the holographic displays that showed the approaching collective armada. Dr. Samira Hassan stood beside him, her quantum strategic algorithms processing potential outcomes at speeds that would have been impossible just years earlier. "They've miscalculated," she said quietly. "Completely and utterly miscalculated." The collective's invasion fleet was impressive by traditional standards. Hundreds of massive ships equipped with technologies that had subjugated countless civilizations, but they were about to encounter something entirely unprecedented. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were preparing to demonstrate their true potential. "Adaptive protocols engaging," a digital voice announced. The entire defensive system wasn't just a collection of weapons and shields. It was a living, breathing organism of technological and biological potential. The first wave of collective ships approached, their weapons charging. Traditional military strategists would have seen this as the beginning of an unwinnable conflict, but Marcus Wong saw something different, an opportunity to redefine galactic understanding. Dr. Hassan's quantum interfaces began to respond, not with traditional defensive measures, but with something far more complex. The human defensive grid wasn't just blocking incoming attacks. It was learning, adapting, transforming in real time. Collective energy weapons struck the first defensive perimeter. Instead of being blocked or absorbed, the human systems began to deconstruct the incoming technology. They didn't just defend. They began to understand, replicate, and ultimately neutralize the threat. They're attempting to overwhelm us with numerical superiority, Marcus observed. They don't realize we've redefined the concept of superiority. Genetic adaptations discovered by early researchers like Dr. Arian Novak now manifested in full force. Human colonists in various solar system outposts began to demonstrate capabilities that defied traditional biological limitations. Radiation, extreme temperatures, gravitational variations, conditions that would destroy other species became mere challenges to be overcome. The collective armada found itself facing an impossible scenario. Every technological attack was immediately understood, adapted to, and neutralized. Every biological weapon was encountered with human systems that could instantaneously restructure themselves. "We're not just defending," Dr. Hassan said, her voice carrying a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic determination. "We're demonstrating the fundamental potential of adaptive intelligence." Quantum communication networks allowed instantaneous coordination between human defensive nodes. What appeared to be individual defensive positions were actually part of a single, breathing, adaptive organism. Each human settlement, each space station, each defensive platform was simultaneously a weapon, a shield, and a learning system. The collective fleet began to retreat, not out of traditional fear, but out of a fundamental recognition that they were encountering something beyond their computational models. Marcus watched the holographic displays, understanding that this was more than a military engagement. This was a declaration of humanity's potential. "We're not conquerors," the quantum communication systems transmitted to the retreating collective fleet. "We're an evolutionary possibility." As the last collective ships retreated, humanity stood at a turning point. They had not just defended themselves. They had fundamentally altered the galaxy's understanding of technological and biological potential. The universe would never be the same, and humanity was just beginning to understand its true potential.